Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Nina Ribena's Art Journal Prompts and More. It's April week 2 and time for another Junk It Up project. This is the junk that I'm going to be upcycling or repurposing today. It's an old shaving soap box that my husband had. I've been hoarding onto this for quite a while actually. I've tried cleaning it up already, but it's got quite a lot of water damage, as you can see, you know, where he's obviously put his shaving brush inside, and that just will not come off. And it's got quite a lot of water damage, as you can see, around the side as well. The inside isn't actually too bad, nor the lid. And I know that some of you are probably thinking, well, I haven't got anything like that. Junk It Up is open to interpretation. Use any piece of junk that you like, any kind of box, or, you know, there are just so many options for this. So, you know, don't feel that you have to do exactly as I do. But what I want to start off by doing, and in fact actually I'm going to, let me just move my tea out of the way. I just want to bring in this Teflon mat because the white mat that I've got underneath does not like the heat tool. I want to try and get this label off, so I'm just going to use my heat tool and I'm going to heat it for a few seconds just to try and melt the glue that is underneath, and then it should peel off quite easily. So let's have a look and see what we can do. Well, that part's come off really well, and I'm just going to keep heating this and hopefully clean this up. And as soon as I've done that, I'll be back. Okay, so this is how my pot, shaving cream pot caddy is looking now. So I did manage to get the sticker off. It took a bit of work, and I did end up using and scraping away with my bone folder as well, but I've got it all off, and then I went round the ridges as well like this, just to sort of, you know, get any gunk out of these ridges. I don't know whether you can see those. Now I've got a couple of rough areas, and so I just want to use some fine grit sandpaper now just to sand off, because I don't want any splinters. So I'm just going to go around it, you know, just around any of the edges that look a bit sharp and weathered, and we can start painting it. So this has had a good sand now, and it feels really nice, and I've gone over it with a damp baby wipe as well, just to get rid of any dust, as well as, well, in fact I used this brush here because of course I don't want any dust getting in my paint. So that's all nice and prepared. Now I'm going to do the lid and the bowl part in two different colours, and I think I'm certainly going to use this grey here for the bottom, and I wanted a pink. Now I want to use these chalk type paints, and I might have to add some buff to this because that is just too dark. So in fact it's matte linen. This is the Deco Cream acrylic paint, and it's their chalk style paint. So let me just move that to one side. So I'm just going to, in fact you need to give these a good shake because they have sort of like an oily residue that if you don't shake them comes out. So let's just take the lid off and put some on my mat. Can you see what I'm doing? So I'm just going to put a little bit of paint there. I can always add more, and I'm using a really soft brush to do this because I don't want any brush marks if I can help it. So I'm just going to go over. This is probably going to take maybe 3 coats of paint before I get the finish that I'm after. And I know that some of you are probably thinking, oh, it's sacrilege to paint that beautiful jar, but the trouble is, you know, it's so watermarked and you know, spoiled in places that I just think this will transform it. I hope so anyway. So I'm just going to keep going around my bowl like this, and then I'm going to cheat and use my heat tool, drying in between. In fact, if I put that, then I can do the bottom of it as well, and then I'm going to have to do the inside once this is dry. So there we go. So I shall give this a quick blast with the heat tool, and I'll come back and let you know how many coats of paint this has taken. I'm just trying to be as neat about it as I can. So that's how it looks after one coat of paint, and I've put it on a piece of copier paper just so that I can keep twizzling it round when I'm drying it with my heat tool. It just makes life a bit easier. So I'm just going in with coat number 2. And as I say, we'll see how many coats this ends up needing. I think it's going to need at least 3, but you know, we'll see. I might be wrong. So this is how it looks after 2 coats of paint. It's going to need a third, but I think that will do it. So I'm just going to give this, hopefully, its final coat. And I'm just trying to be as neat as I can about this to avoid getting any unwanted brush marks. I just want, you know, as smooth a finish as I can get. So my dish took 3 coats of paint in the end, and that's nice and dry, and I've grabbed myself a fresh piece of paper as well, because I don't want the underside of my bowl picking up anything from the previous piece. So I've just got myself another piece of scratch paper and a clean brush as well, just because the other one is a bit wet and I want the same kind of finish, and I'm going to do exactly the same now with the inside. So I'm going to give this 3 coats of paint, the same as I did with the outside, and as soon as I've done that, I'll be back. That's the base of my little jar. I love that, so I'm just going to pop that somewhere safe and just allow that to harden and cure, and then we'll work on the lid. I've just been having a play around with the paints, and I'm going to mix these 2 colours together, so that's matte linen and Indian pink, and I want something you know, this kind of shade. Now of course, because I'm mixing paints together, I've got to make sure that I make enough. So what I'm going to do is, I've given these a good shake already, and I'm going to put it in a pot that I can put a lid on, because, you know, of course I'll never be able to mix the same colour if I do it twice, and I want more of the buff than I do of the rose. So I'm just going to add a bit at a time. When you're adding your darker colour, always start off by adding a little bit, because you can always add more, but of course you can't take it away, and it always turns out much darker than you think it's going to as well. So I'm just going to give these a good mix, and I think that's probably going to be about the right kind of depth. I might need a little bit more pink, maybe a tiny bit more pink, but not much. That's not too bad actually. Let's add a little bit more. And I'm just stirring this, as you can see, with the end of a paint brush. And the reason I'm mixing it, well, I mean, I've got loads of acrylic paints that are the shade that I would like to use, but this chalk paint dries incredibly quickly, and it's meant for furniture projects as well. So I just think it's a little bit more durable than regular acrylic paint, and it has a beautiful matte finish as well, which is what I want. Here goes. Let's see what this pink looks like. I'm going to start off by doing the top first, and I need to get into these grooves here. So we'll do those first, and I want to make sure as well that I don't end up with any paint clogging them up. So I'm going in with you know, several thin layers rather than being too heavy-handed about it. So just making sure that I'm scraping that paint out of those 2 grooves. I should really go with the grain, shouldn't I? There we go, before anybody tells me off. And then so I'm just going to give this another 3 coats. This might take more because it's a lighter colour, but I shall let you know. Right, okie dokie. So my jar, wooden jar, has had a couple of hours now to dry, and look at it. Doesn't that look pretty? I mean, I am going to decorate it, but it just looks absolutely lovely as it is. What I want to do first, though, is add some of this Authentico chalk wax. This is the white chalk finish, and I'm going to apply a thin layer with a brush. So I'm just going to brush this on all over, and then I'm going to leave it for 15 minutes and then buff it off with a cotton cloth. And this will just protect my paint and just give it a really nice finish as well. So I'm just going to go all the way over this. In fact, what I think I might do is just do the inside and the sides, and then I'll do the bottom once this has all had a chance to dry. And then I'm going to do the top as well. So I'll be back to show you what it looks like before I buff it all off. I've left these for about 20 minutes in the end. It says 15, but I got sidetracked with something. So I'm just going to buff it off as per the instructions. And I think you'll still be able to see some of the white as well, which will add, well, it'll lighten everything for one, and should give it a really nice texture. And because I've only done one side as well, we'll be able to compare the two and see the difference. But this will just protect my wooden piece as well. So let's put that off to one side and do this. And this is just a cotton rag that I'm using here. You can see I've used it to mop up extra paint and all sorts. So I'm just going to go over this, and when I've finished I'll come back and I'll show you what it looks like. Now, I've resorted to using a microfiber cloth in the end. It's given it a really nice finish. I really like that. You can't really tell what the other sides were like because I've got loads of fingerprints on, but what I'm going to do, this part of the bowl here has gone a bit patchy, so I'm going to repeat the process. And just add another layer of wax. Obviously, you know, I haven't done the bottom yet. And I'm just going to go around the sides again. And, you know, we'll see what it looks like once it's had a second coat. And then I'm going to do the other side of the lid as well. And again, I'll just leave it for 15 minutes or so, and then I shall buff it off. Finished adding the wax to my little bowl. I keep calling it a jar. I've called it all kinds of a box, but it is sort of like a little bowl or a dish, isn't it? A wooden dish. But I don't know whether you can see if I hold this up close. I just love the texture that white wax gives, because you can just see touches of it. It just gives it a really, really lovely finish. It's more noticeable on the grey than it is on the pink, although you can still see it. Now, what I want to do is decorate the lid of my jar, and I'm thinking that I can add, let me just show you. I've got a couple of different types of paper. These are both from two different pound shop paper stacks. We've got Purple Paradise, which is where this one came from, and then the grey is from Vintage Notes, and I'm really not sure which one I like the best. No, I don't like that polka dot one. I think it's this greeny grey one that I think I like the best. Let me just bring back the rest of the bowl again, the dish. I mean, that is more green than grey, but it's got grey tones in it, and I just think that's really, really pretty. So I think what I'm going to do is grab my paper chomper, and I think what I might do is cut circles out of both of these so that I can just play around with them and see which I like best. I've got a 2.5 inch circle punch here, which I'm going to use. It's not quite the same size. I have measured the circle on that dish. But this will do fine. I think I like that part there. And let's do the same with this one here, and then I would just be able to hold it up and see which I like best. And you'll still have a pink border as well, which I like. And the reason that I wanted to put some paper on it is that if anybody decided to take it back just to the pink at a later date, then they could do. So I'm just going to probably end up sticking this down just with a glue stick so that it's not completely permanent. Of course, it can be glued down better if so desired. I think that's really pretty. Yeah, definitely that one there. And what I wanted to do was add some of these gorgeous silk flowers. I picked up a few bags of these a couple of years ago from the scrap store. They were all broken and in bits, but I've taken some of them apart. And I think I want to do some kind of assemblage. Now these have all got plastic bits on here. So I think what I want to do is just grab my heat gun perhaps, because if I snip that off it's going to fall apart, just so that I can add a little bit to the bottom. And that's probably how I shall attach those to the little paper disc, something like that. So I'm just going to grab some supplies and I'll be back. This is how the bag arrived. It was just a bag of floral bits, and I have taken a lot of them apart already because they all came with these horrible plastic stamens in the centre, and they just pop out really easily. In fact, I think I just grabbed my jewellery pliers, and then you can add little pearls and you know, nicer embellishments of your own. I'm sure I gave a bag of these to Betsy Doodle for her to have a go at making things with, but I'm going to do the same here. I don't like this green leaf thing. Oh, here comes Louis. I don't like this green leaf thing on the bottom, so you know, we'll get rid of that if we can. Oh, it might be well and truly stuck. We might have to stick with that. I've also got some leaves here that I like. Shush, Louis, I'll come and feed you in a second. He obviously wants some food. But I thought I might be able to incorporate those. So I'm going to take some of these apart, and then we'll have a go at trying to put some together. Now, I've sat here for ages fiddling around with these flowers, and I think I've come up with a composition. And isn't it funny when you start playing, the things that you think you originally like just don't work anymore. The flowers on top of this circle disc here just didn't look right. They were just way too busy. So I'm going back to the plainer circle disc, and what I want to do first, though, let me just move that out of the way, is I've got some frayed burlap distress ink, because of course I've got white around the outside, and I'm just going to distress the outside of the circle a little bit, just to get rid of that white border. I can also sort of add a bit coming into the centre as well, like this. And then my hot glue gun is heated up now, and I'm just going to start gluing things down. So let me just get rid of that. Back to my piece of napkin, and I'm going to start off with this one here. I think this was the one that I decided I wanted to have in the centre. These green silk leaves here are not going anywhere. They're well and truly welded to the base of the flower, so those will have to stay put. I just want to try and get rid of a bit more of that plastic if I can. That's about as much as I'm going to get. And I'm just going to add a tad of hot glue to the centre of the flower, and I'm going to stick that in the middle as best as I can. Like that. It was that flower I wanted, wasn't it? Yes, I think it was. And then I'm just going to arrange these around. I think I've figured out that 7 will fit on really nicely, so I just want to make sure that that's stuck down properly. I've got all of these tucked under now. In fact, what I might do is get some Fabri-Tac and just glue these down to the rows first, because that's going to bug me. Figured out what to do. I'm just attaching a tiny weeny bit of hot glue like this, just to hold them in place. So there's a plan. There we go. Then I can glue that down properly, and also see what I'm doing and add a bit more glue as well to make sure that it sticks. There we go, and I can pull off any glue strings afterwards. And I'm just going to go round and do each one. These ones aren't too bad. And I'm just going to add these around the outside like that. Okay, so I'm happy with that, but that looks a little bit plain. So I think what I'm going to do is try and stick some of these little white pearls as sort of like a border around like this, and I'm going to go off camera and do this so that I can get up close and see what I'm doing, because otherwise I'm likely to mess it up. That's just definitely added a little something, and so I am just going to use a glue stick to glue this down, being really careful and focusing on getting glue around the edges. And this just means that, you know, it can be peeled off at a later date if ever somebody wanted to change the decor. And glue sticks these days, you know, when you're gluing them to a flat surface, to be honest, are pretty good. So I just need to make sure that I centralise that properly. There we go. Stick that down. Isn't that gorgeous? One last thing I want to do to my little centrepiece is I want to pop a pink pearl in the centre, which I think will just finish it off. So I'm just going to grab some hot glue again. I'm going to pop that in the centre, trying not to burn myself. There we go. And then I need to make sure that the pearl is on its side because it's got holes at either end. So I'm just going to pop that in. Oh, isn't that pretty? That's just really finished that off, I think. Isn't that gorgeous? So here's my finished bowl. This was sitting overnight and I came down this morning and I just felt the desperate need to put a little something in the gaps in between the rosebuds, and so this is what it looks like. And I used some of these silk flowers here. Again, these are ones that I got from the scrap store. They came in clusters on plastic stems, and they had plastic stamens in the centre. So I took them all apart. I did this a long time ago. You've probably seen me use these before. And then with a dot of glossy accents, I think I just added some flat back pearls to the centres, and I've used these in lots and lots of different projects. I just think they're really lovely. And so that's what I've added to the gaps, and that is it. And then, of course, the prompt for this month is Easter. So, ta-da! I've just filled it with some little Lindt mini eggs. So that is my finished project for this week. I just think it's absolutely beautiful. I'm so happy with that. Now, I know that some of you are probably thinking, well, you know, I haven't got anything like that to use for junket up around my house. Well, I would beg to differ there, and I think you probably have. Let me give you some ideas. Here's a truffle jar. You could use a preserve jar, you know, a small jam jar, a small coffee jar even, and you know, you could do something very similar with something like that. You'd just have to gesso the glass first. You know, you'd have to either heat set or soak in hot water to get rid of all the labels. Your glue gun is your friend trying to get rid of glue on the backs of labels. It really is. This is a pot of styling gel. This is one of Sam's, but again, you could easily alter something like that. And this is a ramekin dish that came with a pudding, a dessert from Waitrose. Sam absolutely loves mousses and that kind of thing. And they always come in these ramekin dishes. They're not of great quality and they chip like mad. And because Sam gets through many, we end up with dozens and dozens and dozens of these things. I throw so many away or take them to the charity shop because, you know, what on earth do you do with them all? They just clutter up your cupboards. So again, you could easily sort of make a very pretty dish with this, and you know, decorate the outsides with lace and flowers and all kinds of things. So, you know, really think outside the box. I'm sure you have something in your house. Now, I showed this to Stephen last night, and you know, this bowl here was meant to be a refillable shaving cream, but I don't think men have the same sentimental or hoarding nature that us girls do. And quite often it's as cheap to buy the shaving soap with the bowl as it is to buy the refill on its own. So he just, you know, ends up collecting a few of these. They do last a very long time, I have to say, but I showed him this last night and he said, oh gosh, it's really pretty, and came down this morning with a present for me. He said, I've got a present for you, and here's another one. So, you know, this one is going to take, you know, quite a bit of cleaning up, but I'm really excited about doing something with this one too. It's slightly different because this one has got more ridges. This is a different brand. It smells absolutely wonderful. This is my favourite one, Spanish fig and nutmeg. So I'm going to do a similar kind of thing with this one here, but you can see, look, the before and the after. What a transformation. I mean, you know, these are beautiful in their own right, but you know, with watermarks and, you know, over the years they do have a tendency to get a bit grim and grotty. So there we go, that's this week's finished project. So if you enjoyed my video this week, as always, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up. Do let me know what you think in the comments below, and I look forward to seeing what everybody else decides to do for the Junk It Up. Think of it more as a recycle, repurpose and reuse prompt rather than, you know, just junk necessarily. And take care, everyone. I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.